Hey everybody, my name is Danielle and this is Chatter Out Loud. Thank you so much for joining me. Your presence is very much appreciated. So welcome or welcome back. Today I'm going to chat about Hallmark's Miracles of Christmas, new original movie, The Gift of Peace. The Gift of Peace. It premiered on Saturday, December 10th at 10 p.m. Eastern on the Hallmark Movies and Mysteries channel, and it stars Nikki DeLoach and Brennan Elliott. And the synopsis is as follows. Artist Tracy lost her faith after tragedy, but begins to find inspiration, hope, and peace with a new community when she joins a grief support group at Christmas. All right, this movie was one with a more serious tone. It was a movie about faith and healing and community. Tracy is an artist. She's a painter who stopped believing in God after her husband tragically died despite her prayers. He died of a brain tumor. She's approaching her second Christmas without him and is struggling creatively. And the timing is just a little off because it's right before her important Christmas Eve gallery showing. That's when she's returning to the world of art. She joins a faith-based support group and then realizes the guy that led the group is Michael. And that was the same guy she ran into earlier at the market when she was Christmas shopping. Her friend brought her out, and actually recommended the support group. We see her as her friend, who's also her manager, convinced her to go shopping, and that's where she met Michael. Ironically, Michael is struggling with his own grief, and we see how even he has difficulty grieving his late wife. As Tracy participates in Christmas activities, she bonds with a new spiritual community and her art becomes more inspired. She finds strength to keep moving forward and then opens her heart again, realizing that true faith is more than just answered prayers. So I want to get this out of the way first. The flashback of the character Tracy, I didn't like the wig. I found it distracting. And the thing is, they didn't need a wig. I believe they didn't even need to use this. I mean, if you think about it, it was only a couple of years back in her life, right? And it's not that long of a stretch of time, you know? I think they should have opted to style her hair differently if they wanted to show, like, or to emphasize that this is the Tracy 2 years back. You know, they could put a styled her hair in a ponytail or used a different wig, you know, altogether. Because the one that she had, it didn't work. Or just, they could have just managed it through editing. Like vignette, I think that's what it's called, right? It's when they darken the edges of the frame or lighten them around the frame so it kind of looks like not fuzzy, but you can tell something's different about the story. It's supposed to emphasize a different space in the story. And so they could have done something like that in editing. So as a viewer, we know, oh, it's the flashback of Tracy. And besides, in those flashbacks, her husband was there. Well, maybe not in all of them. But I think the wig was a mistake in styling, and how unfortunate, right? Because the story was so much deeper than that. And I didn't want, nor did I welcome that distraction of the wig. All right. So I just had to get that out of the way. All right. As I mentioned at the start, the story, I think, was about faith and healing and community and dealing with grief during the holiday. The portrayal of these characters, Tracy and Michael, experiencing grief and loss, I thought it was really good. Wherever they pulled from, Nikki DeLoach and Brennan Elliott, I thought they did a good job in translating those feelings because it was a lot of emotion and I felt it and I believed it too. There were really great scenes, really powerful scenes. I was moved. And you probably can tell in the tone of my voice. I just finished watching the movie. And I have to say that you really have to be in the right headspace to watch this movie. It certainly can trigger you. So just allow yourself a little grace when watching it. I read an article where Brennan Elliott said that he hopes the film touches people and provides comfort for those needing it the most. Yeah, and we know his story, right? And I'm not going to get into it over this episode of the podcast. But if you don't know some of the challenges and obstacles he and his family is dealing with, just go Google it and you'll find it. I liked how we saw God and prayer as part of the dialogue in this movie. It wasn't hard and narrow. It wasn't dogmatic. I felt it was open, and it invited the viewer into the story. We watched the power of healing in the movie. I was moved when we learned each of their stories about losing their loved one, they meaning the people in the grief support group. These actors and actresses, they committed to these roles, and you can tell, you can see their efforts. Maybe the timing of a few lines weren't always delivered perfectly, but I did feel the emotion. My heart sank for the characters, and then my heart lifted when they had their breakthrough. So to me, that's a sign of strong performance, and I certainly give this cast credit. As Tracy began to heal, she was lighter, her posture changed, she smiled, her mind was sharper, and you felt through the screen how much her spirit was lifted. As they shared in the group and with each other, they were more equipped to help each other. So I like seeing that part, or like seeing that as part of the story. The grief support group, it was their community, right? It was small, it was their community, and it played a huge part in each of their healing. I think this movie did a wonderful job sharing examples of people experiencing grief and how they begin to heal, and the power of community. So I thought that the movie did a good job doing that. The scene where Tracy said to the doctor something like, "But we prayed, so it'll be okay." When her husband was going into surgery, that was so real. I mean, how many of us can relate to that feeling, and then to the feeling of feeling anger, like after loss? Yeah. Another pivotal moment is watching Michael hear out loud that he is trying to atone for something he had no control over. I thought that was a great scene. It was very real. I felt the overall tone of the movie was realistic, very emotional. And I'm so glad they ended the movie the way that they did. It was with the possibility of love for Tracy and Michael. Right? I was slightly nervous because it looked like they were going down, they were going to follow that format with that Hallmark kiss, but they didn't. Well, there was a kiss, but it was tasteful and it was believable. And I'm glad, and it gave possibility, while leaving space for the characters, to heal completely. I liked the way it ended. It was very tasteful. And I thought that was a more appropriate ending. So good job, Hallmark. A great line by Tracy towards the end of the movie. She said, "Seek hope and love and joy, even in life's toughest moments." You guys, it's not fun. It's not funny nor healthy to operate in a place of trauma and despair. I don't think that's a badge of honor. That can kill you. So I appreciated that line. It's harder said than done. We all know that. And that's why community is important. So I guess I'm just trying to say I really appreciated that line. Oh, yeah. And a little levity. How cute was Tracy in her elf costume? Or Nikki DeLoach, right? Tracy. How cute was that elf costume? She had the ears and all. So that made me smile. I think this movie, it's worth a watch. Yeah. The Gift of Peace. Have you seen the movie? What did you think? You have to let me know your thoughts in a comment below. And that's all I have, so be sure to come back and give me a listen. I'd love for you to like, share, follow, comment, and subscribe, all of which will help my channel grow, so thank you in advance. My name is Danielle. You're listening to Chatter Out Loud. Thank you so much for joining me. Excuse me. And as always, I appreciate your support. And that's all I have. Thanks again for listening, and I'll talk to you next time.